Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TCG Talk. I hope you all are having a great day. Today, we're going to mix things up a little bit. For the first few videos of this channel, what we've been doing is mainly deck tech stuff, kind of getting your head around some of the decks that I'm running and I think are really awesome. One thing I have noticed in the last few weeks with the Chane ban, with Seeds of Agony, and then with just Chane being nerfed as a whole, the meta is obviously changing drastically. And then the Chane ban kind of came at the same time that these new heroes and Tales of Aria came out with Briar, Oldhim, and Lexi. So I thought it'd be really cool to do a deck tech and kind of, not deck tech, but a tier list and kind of give you an idea of who I think is good and who I think is going to be good. A couple like house rules for this. One, this is just an opinion. I'm not a pro player by any means. I'm not like top in the world. This is just someone who loves the game and is playing it a lot, and where I think the meta is kind of going and shifting to, and who I think is good. Another thing I'm gonna say is this is for just adult heroes. I'm not gonna include the Blitz deck ones, Benji and Deodal and Ira and the Merchant and all them. I'm not gonna do all those. Just the adult heroes. And last thing is, tell me what you think. If you think I'm super off with one of these picks, please tell me. I'm totally okay with that. I'm not gonna get upset about it. You can tell me I'm completely wrong on something. I would love to hear other opinions. I'm kind of basing this list off two things. One, I'm basing it off of my experiences in the game, who I've played against, who I've watched other people play with, and just who I think is good in that aspect, right? From my own personal experiences as a player. And then the other half that I'm kind of really weighing heavily is who would be good in the event, right? This list really isn't for like the list or the heroes in a vacuum. It's like who would be good playing 6, 7, 8, 9 games a day, seeing different heroes, different strategies, like who is best suited for you if you're going to your first calling event, or you're going to your first maybe regional event or something of that line. So that's kind of what I went off. And then my thoughts on that coupled with my own experiences, right? And who I think is good and hard to play against or easy to play as a whole. So we're gonna get right into it. And I'm gonna go in order. I didn't put these in any particular order. I kind of did once I put all the Blitz heroes at the bottom. This is kind of the order they're in. So this isn't a pre-made order to try to get you to stay in the video. I'm literally just gonna go in the order that it was. It's actually alphabetical for the most part. So the first one is Boltyn, and this is actually gonna be the one that everybody probably is gonna get on me for. But I put Boltyn in B tier. S tier for me is like you have a good chance of placing well no matter like how you play, as long as you play it correctly. A tier is like, just below S, really good deck that can be played really well. And then B tier is kind of like to like average to below average, and then C tier is like dumpster. I put Boltyn at B. A lot of people are going to probably put him in A, right? Some people even argue that he's an S tier right now. There's two reasons I put Boltyn in B. I've played against Boltyns. I've lost to Boltyns, right? They're very oppressive. Boltyns, his pivot turn where he's hitting you with his blades over and over, and he's hitting you for 20 plus damage while also gaining life, unless you have a Viserai blade or something like that, is very oppressive. And I understand his charges are very good. The reason I put him at B tier was for two reasons. One, what Boltyn's game plan is. Boltyn has one game plan. You can kind of tweak a little bit of whatever, but his win condition is that pivot turn. He's got one or two of them a game, and you can play around that, in my opinion. You can sideboard for that, and you can just, the pace of the game, like you see when his charges are getting charged up. You can see when he's about a turn or two away from his pivot turn, and you can prepare for that. You can block out, you can put different things in the game and in your board in order to prepare against it. You can race him and try to get him low, low, low. That way, when that pivot turn comes, it doesn't really hurt you that much. It's just, in my opinion, he's not easy to play against, but he's easier to plan against because he doesn't have a whole lot of variation to his deck. He's got a game plan and he's going to stick with it, right? So I put him at B tier for that reason. I think if you're playing 6, 7, 8 games a day at an event or even as like a regional, I think he's going to be a little bit difficult to win consistently. You're definitely going to win some games for sure. But I think when you come against an experienced player who knows how to prepare against a Boltyn, possibly has some sideboard cards for Boltyn, I think he's going to be a little bit difficult. So that's why I put him in B tier. Please feel free to disagree with me. I had several buddies who said that they would put him higher. So it's no problem at all if you do disagree. My next one is Bravo. I put Bravo in the A tier. I don't think Bravo is a top deck, but Bravo, coupled with some of the new equipment pieces and just equipment in general, he's literally a brick wall. He was already a brick wall before, and he can hit you a lot with his crush effects. He's very, very oppressive to play against, especially if you're a go again or a low, kind of a death by 1,000 cuts, even like a Katsu player. It's a little bit difficult. But what also makes him difficult is some of his equipment has arcane barriers. So if you're an arcane person, it's harder. And I've seen people have equipment that blocks for 5 total. It obviously goes down after a little bit, but with all that, and he just has naturally good defense. He can just keep swinging at you with his hammer if he wants, until he gets that that spinal crush, that crippling crush, and just hits you for it. He's very simplistic, and you know what you want to do with him. And there's little adaptations you can make with him that just make him a really solid hero to play. And he's pretty simple to understand from a player perspective. And I've never played against a Bravo deck where, I can kind of get his pacing down, I can get ahead of him, I can do these things, but his defense and his ability to block very little with his actual cards in hand while still maintain pressure, even for a Guardian player, is very good. So I put him in the A tier for that very reason. He's just a solid deck, in my opinion. Chane. So I put Chane in the B tier. I think people thinking Chane in the dumpster is a little bit of a overreaction. I think Seeds of Agony getting banned obviously hurt Chane a lot. And it's a lot easier to play against Chane now and to plan to play against Chane now. However, he's still a decent deck. And I still think you could do very well in the right hands. Now, if you play against someone who knows how to play against him, it's going to be a little difficult. And I think so many people saw him last meta that people know how to play against him now. And now without Seeds Agony, you're just getting all these players that have played against Chane for the last 6 months. And now they're like, oh, I'm playing against Chane, but now he's easier to play against, right? Or I know how to play against him, and now he's a little bit nerfed. So now I have a nerf Chane that I know how to play against. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So that's why I put him at the B tier. I don't think he's like dumpster tier or C tier. I do think he's still viable. You still can play him. But I think that he definitely took a hit, obviously, from that top S tier. For Dash, I put Dash at A. I love Dash as a combo deck. Playing against Dash has been frustrating to say the least with her pistols and with her boost capability. She also can play pretty aggro as she wants, and her items make her very difficult to deal with, especially if she gets ahead early. Dash is very complex to play, and she has to be played correctly to be good. But I think at a top level, like a regional or like a calling, anyone who's playing Dash is gonna effectively know how to play her. So that's not gonna be an issue at your weekly army event or at just having fun, some tabletop games. She's probably not as good because you don't have people who are super experienced playing with her. But at a high level, I think she is really good if the person knows how to play her. She's just solid. One thing I wanted to add too is I only did 4 tiers. I didn't want to do 5 tiers. I thought that was just too much. And a lot with the new meta, it's so kind of rock, paper, scissory a little bit on who you play and how you sideboard that having multiple tiers is kind of useless. Going into Azalea, she's still bottom tier. She can't defend very well. Her traps are decent, but anybody that just decides to race her, you're going to have to draw perfect hands to win consistently. You might, if you take her to a weekly army event or you take her in a one-on-one match, sure, she might win a game or two, but at an event, she's never going to do super, super, super well. And when people do win multiple games with her, it's like an anomaly. So that's one thing with her that I still don't think she got any improvement. The new Ranger cards helped a little bit, but overall, she's still not good enough. She's definitely closed a gap on how bad she is compared to the rest of the field, but she's still at the bottom. Just hasn't changed. Dorinthea, I put at B tier. Dorinthea, I put at B tier for the same reason I put Boltyn at B tier. Dorinthea is very good. She's arguably the hardest hero in the game to race, right? She can hit hard, especially if you get a Dorinthea that has so many attack reactions it's not even funny, which I experienced this past week in my armory event. Played against a Dorinthea, tried to block out the first 2 turns like a dummy playing Katsu instead of just racing her, and she made me pay for it. Her attack reactions are hard to deal with, and she's just hard to deal with as a whole because she's going to race you. However, if you can get it, there's 2 things about Dorinthea. One, just like Boltyn, you know what she's going to do. She's going to hit with her blade. She's going to do attack reactions. She's going to do, pre-attack pumps and do attack reactions on the back end. if you can play around it, pick when to block and when not to block, and then race effectively, you can beat her. You know what Dorinthea is going to do. And I don't like playing heroes that my opponent knows what my win condition is 100%, right? There's very little adaptations I can make to throw my opponent off guard. And that's why Boltyn and Dorinthea are. They're very straightforward. You know what they're going to do. And there's not much to it. Bravo's the same way, but at least Bravo can defend a little bit better. But Dorinthea, she can't afford to defend but so much because a lot of her stuff is attack reaction and pumps. If she defends with it, then effectively she's just hitting with a blade that's like basically hitting like a wooden stick. So it doesn't work out very well. So that's why I put her in the B tier. That's why she's there, to be honest with you. Prism is our first S tier. Prism was amazing at the end of the meta last time. Control based Prism, fatigue, and also just the aura based Luminaris, like putting a lot of pressure on you with all of her spectral shield tokens if she can get them. And with the chain band, she's just going to be even better. She's very annoying. She can fatigue you out with her soul shields and with her defense reactions. And if you let her hit a couple prismatic shields and you can't put any damage on her, and all of a sudden she's hitting you with 7 shields, 1 damage each with Go Again on top of her other heralds that have Go Again, she's just oppressive. If you made me pick who's the best in the game played at their height and who would probably have the best chance at winning an event with an effective sideboard, I'm probably putting Prism as number 1. That's for me. She's just fantastic. She does a little bit of everything. She's very hard to play against. She does have a hard counter in Brute. If you're playing a Brute, it basically renders her heralds nearly useless. But even in a hard counter game, she still is good. So she's definitely the first S tier for me, 100%. Getting into Kano, same with Azalea. I hate it. I know there's a lot of loyal Kano players, and please feel free to disagree with me in the comments. Kano just doesn't have enough punch to me. I know playing at instant speed's great. I know he has some powerful cards. I just don't think he can contend with a player across the table that knows what they're doing with the other heroes. In a one-on-one event, even in a weekly armory event at a small, store, he can do pretty well. But against experienced players that know what they're doing, he's going to be a little bit harder. I know some people disagree with me, but that's just my opinion. For Katsu, I'm a Katsu main. I really wanted to put him in S tier so bad. But I put him in A tier. I think Katsu has a slightly similar, and also my A tier Katsu is aggro Katsu, not control Katsu. If it's control Katsu, I'm actually probably putting him in B tier because I think control Katsu's kind of gone away. But aggro Katsu, I'm putting him A tier. Somewhat similar to Boltyn and Dorinthea, you know what Katsu's going to do, right? However, when you start the game, the opponent doesn't know if it's aggro Katsu or a control Katsu. And then on top of that, even when they figure out you're an aggro Katsu, there's so many little adaptations with the ratios that you can create with Katsu that, like, you putting a card down, like you putting even something like a Soul Bead Strike down, that can mean 3 different things. They don't know what you're going to do. They don't know if you're going to Kadachi. They don't know if you're going to Kadachi then put something else down. They don't know if you're going to, try to get the on-hit effect and then search for Crane Dance. They don't know if you're just trying to get a go again. You don't have much in your hand. On top of that, and then the last thing, they don't know if you have a Razor Reflex or Ancestral Empowerment because you're trying to draw a card, right? There's so many little things. It's so annoying to play against a good Katsu. You don't know if you should exact block. You don't know if you should overblock. You might overblock and he actually had nothing. He was just bluffing, and then you just use 3 cards to block a 1 card, and then he hits you next turn, right? There's so many things that Katsu can do to put the opponent off guard, and if you let Katsu get ahead, and he has effective attack reactions to get those on-hit effects so he can use his Katsu ability, he's just disgusting. I didn't put him at S tier because, yes, if you can get Katsu on the back foot, if he doesn't have the effective defense reactions, he can really get snowballed really quickly, and I've had that happen to me. But at his height, he's an A near S to me. He's kind of like right here, but I would put him more to an A if I'm being completely honest with myself and try not to have some bias being a Katsu player. But I think he's really good. He was top in the meta, one of the top 3 in the meta last time, and I think he still is. Like, if he's on A, I do think he's like in front of Bravo, right? I think it goes like Katsu, Bravo, Dash. And then on B tier, it probably goes Boltyn, Dorinthea, Chane, right? So like if I'm putting these in order within the tiers that they are, it's probably like that. So that's Katsu. Next we have Levia. Levia is very good. I'm actually going to put Levia in A tier. I think Levia is very oppressive. I think she has some really good cards. And I think she has honestly been one of the more underrated heroes coming into the new season and towards the tail end of the last season. I think a lot of people wrote her off. And she got a couple extra cards from this deck, or from the last one. So I think she's just really good. And the issue with Levia is a lower level. She might not be as good because people don't know how to manage her blood debt effectively or how to do the correct deck building in order to make sure that you don't get killed by blood debt. I think she's really frustrating for a lot of players because when you're first learning her, you're dying to yourself because you don't manage your blood debt correctly. But if you learn to manage her correctly, I think that she can be a really good hero. I do think personally, she's probably the last on the A tier for me. But she's definitely A tier. I think for this, and I really like her, and I'm excited to see who plays her in the events and who does well with her. For Rhinar, we have 5 years left. For Rhinar, we're gonna do S tier. Rhinar is just hard to deal with. His intimidate factor, his brush and bellows, his ability to get high dominate attacks or just high health attacks while also intimidating you so you can't block out, is very hard. If a Rhinar starts to snowball, he's in trouble. Now, the inconsistency of Rhinar almost made me put him in A tier because I've played against several Rhinars where they just got unlucky with what they discarded. That random discard effect, if I discard the blue that you need, which happened today when I was playing with a friend playing Rhinar, like he went to go do an attack and he had to do a 1 random discard. He had 3 cards in hand and he needed that blue that he had picked up, and I discarded that blue, so he couldn't pitch his attack effectively. And sometimes that just happens with Rhinar and you get super unlucky. But I would say it doesn't happen as much as it does, right? I think you get lucky more than unlucky, right? With that sense. Now, some would say like you don't want him at an event because that luck's not going to stay consistent throughout the whole day. And that's a fair argument. But I think when you're talking about who I've played with Rhinar and against Rhinar, I think he's very oppressive in this meta. I think he's one of the few heroes that can push through that Prism, that can push through that Bravo, that can somewhat maybe outrace that Katsu, right? I think he's going to be a very good force to be reckoned with the right player. And I have him in S tier, honestly. He's the last on my S tier. I have one more S tier in here, but he's definitely S tier for me. Oldhim, I put him at B for now, and I almost wanted to put him at C, but I know people would get really upset. I think Oldhim's just too hard to build. Plain simple, too hard to build. He does what Bravo does, but not as good. Like, take Bravo and eliminate the crush effect. Like, Oldhim is one of those guys that, like, he's really good at fatiguing. He's really good at slowing the game down. And in Blitz, he might be good with the Frostbite. But in Classic Constructed, I just don't think he hits hard enough. I don't. I've played against him with 1 or 2 people that I would consider very good flesh and blood players. And the game was either close or they lost. Either they barely won or they lost. And it's just, I don't think he's going to do well over the course of a whole day against a bunch of different decks. I don't think he hits hard enough. I just don't. You have to set up 2 or 3 turns in order to hit really hard. And then when you do hit, you don't have a lot of dominate like you do in Bravo, or can give it dominate like Bravo can. So they can just block you out with 2 cards or 1 card in a defense reaction from Arsenal. And all of a sudden, like, you're hurting a little bit. He does have the discard effects with Winter's Bite and with, other things like that. And with Channel like Frigid, it can make it a little bit harder to play your cards from hand. But really all that does is slow the game down. It doesn't enable him to kill you off. It just slows the game down. I also think from a viewer perspective, he's just going to be horrible to watch. But that's a side that's not pertaining to this deck list. But yeah, I just have him at B tier right now. He might prove me wrong. A lot of these new heroes might prove me wrong, but right now I have him at B tier with them, and he's definitely at the end of it. For the next one, Viserai, I put him in A tier, and I have him probably second in A tier, ahead of Bravo, behind Katsu. Whether you're playing OTK Viserai or Aggro Viserai, like, he's so good now. And I think similar to Levia, he's been a super underrated hero, and I think he's going to see a lot of play and do really well in the upcoming meta. And I'm super excited to see him play. Nothing crazy. He just has a lot of different adaptations he can make. You can do OTK, you can do aggro, you can do even a little bit of control like combo-y. He has a lot of different things he can do, and you never know when he's going to do it. Like, even though he's building up rune chance like a crazy person, you never know when he's going to do it, and it makes it really difficult. So I have him at A tier for that very reason. I think he'll do very well in tournaments. Okay, getting to our last two here. So Briar, I struggle with Briar. I put Briar in B tier. I had her in A tier. At B tier, I think she's probably ahead of Dorinthea or behind Dorinthea. She's either like right here or right here. For sake of argument, I'll put her right in the middle of B tier. I think Briar's going to be similar to like what we saw with Prism, where at the beginning of the meta, she's going to be like in the middle-ish, and then towards the end, you could see her like scooting up to here. I think once people figure her out, the problem I've had is Briar, and I've been playing only Briar. I played a little bit of Lexi, but Briar's been my main with the new set, and I've played her in 2 weeks of Armory events. I'm scared that she doesn't, even as a Lightning Briar where you can go wide, like Earth Briar, I don't like at all. It's just not, you don't hit hard enough. But as a Lightning Briar, even though you can go wide and you can make those Lightning and Earth tokens, she doesn't quite hit hard enough. And when you have people like Prism who have the Spectral Shield tokens for defense, when you have people like Katsu she can't outrace very well, and Bravo who can defend really well, Rhinar who can defend pretty well, right? She's gonna maybe not be able to push through the damage even with that arcane. I made a Rune Chant Lightning Briar deck video. You can go check it out on my channel. As the last video I made before this one. And I think that's the way to go with Briar. I think if you can somehow make an aggro like Rune Chant Arcane build with her with Lightning, I think it'd be really good because you could go wide with Arcane. But she's kind of a weird one where I think right now she's B tier, but I think she could become an A tier hero with time once people really truly figure her out. Now we get to the last hero. This is probably the most controversial one. I put Lexi in S tier. The reason I did this was 2 reasons. One, I just think she's good, right? I think Lexi has all the tools in her toolkit to do whatever she wants, Ice or Lightning Lexi. The New Horizon equipment is stupid. The fact that you can have 2 arsenal slots. She can make you discard. She can give you frostbite tokens. She can go wide. She can go tall. She can do on hit effects. Like, she has all these different things. And the scary part about it is you can put those things in sideboard. Like, you can run Ice Lexi with Lightning sideboard and then mix it in. Or you can just run Lightning. Like, you can just switch your element cards out. You never know what you're going to get with a Lexi build. And she's so versatile and she can play into so many different people. On top of the fact that she's very good just by herself in a vacuum, she's able to play into a bunch of different heroes. If she's playing a Boltyn or a Bravo, she can use Ice Lexi and make them not be able to play their cards as easily and be able to charge. If she's playing a Katsu, or a Briar, she can try to erase them with Lightning Lexi, right? There's different things she can do to different people, and I just think it makes it super difficult for her to have to super difficult for people to have to play against her because she can do so many different things. You never know what type of Lexi you're going to be playing. I could be wrong. She could end up being a B tier, right? By the end of the meta, but I will be shocked if she doesn't win an event or isn't top 8 or isn't like doing really well. And you'll always, I think, pretty much do really well with her. I do say one thing, and people can please disagree with me in the comments if you feel like it. I don't think you can mix elements with her. I think you can try, but you're never going to get the consistency that you want to get with her. I do think you have to go either Ice Lexi or Lightning Lexi. Pick one and then just hit it hard, right? I think that's the only way she's going to be super good. And I just, every time I see someone mix with her, it never works. Unless they just draw the most amazing hand and get super lucky, it just never is consistent enough, and they ended up tanking out mid game. So this is my tier list. I didn't put freaking the legendary hero that mirrors. I just didn't think she's applicable enough because you don't see enough play, and I personally haven't played against her. Then I didn't put any of the Blitz heroes in. But this is what I think. Please let me know in the comments what you think. If you disagree with something, tell me. If you agree with something, tell me. Tell me why or why not you don't agree with this. Again, I based this tier list off 2 things. I based it off my experiences playing with it against the heroes, and then also who I think will be good at the top level when they have to play 5 to 10 games a day and they have to be good against multiple different decks and multiple different strategies. Who will win you games over the course of an event? That's how I built this deck list, this tier list. Please let me know what you think. If you want, leave a like, comment, please subscribe. If you decide not to do any of those things, go find another Flesh and Blood person who's a new creator or existing creator and go like, comment, subscribe on their stuff. We need more people to create content. We need more people to be able to see this game and enjoy it for what it is. And So if you don't do it with me, do it with someone else. But I would love for you to like and subscribe. Tell me what you think of the video. Tell me how I think it can improve. I'm going to try to improve the videos as much as I can throughout this time. But I hope you all enjoyed this so much. Thanks for tuning in to TCG Talk, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much.